Psychosexual theory. Psychosexual theory is one of the most important psychodynamic theories. It is very influential and one of the most controversial psychodynamic theories. We have learned before that we have three psychodynamic theories. One is psychosexual, second is psychosocial, and third is cognitive theory. So, psychosexual theory was given by Sigmund Freud in 1905. He was an Austrian neurologist. Psych means mind, sexual means sexual fantasies or sexual desires. According to Sigmund Freud, sexual fantasies or desires are responsible for the growth of mind. So, it is the sexual fantasies or desires which grows the mind. This theory is also known as theory of psychoanalysis. Theory of psychoanalysis. Psych means mind, analysis means examination. Examination of mind is psychoanalysis. This word psychoanalysis is now used synonymously with neurosis treatment. Neurosis is a simple or a mild mental disorders where people have a lot of anxiety, worries or depression with known or unknown stress. Sigmund Freud felt that psychoanalysis theory or this theory can be used to treat the neurosis because neurosis is the result of any psychological trauma or any bad experiences which is stored in unconscious mind. So that's the reason we also call this theory as theory of psychoanalysis. He gave two models. One was psychic triad, also known as structural theory of mind or structural model. Id, ego, superego, we have already discussed in the second video of psychology. The link is given in this video, those who have not watched that video. Second model was topographic model, also known as functional model, based on iceberg phenomenon, in which we have discussed conscious mind, unconscious mind and preconscious mind. So, this is the basis of psychosexual theory. Now we'll start with the principle of psychosexual theory. The principle of psychosexual theory, in simple words, psych means mind, sexual means sexual fantasies or sexual drives. In simple words, sexual fantasies or drives are the one which grows the mind. So mind is grown by sexual fantasies. Now we'll come to the explanation of this. Sigmund Freud said that the life of a child is balanced by two things, pressure and pleasure. The life of the child is balanced by two things. One is pressure and the second is pleasure. Pressure is also known as conflict. Pressure is also known as conflict. Pleasure is also known as resolution. So pressure is conflict, pleasure is resolution. In simple words, pressure means stress, pressure means fight, pressure means conflict, pressure means any sort of anxiety, any sort of fear in the mind. Let's see with an example. If A and B, who are friends, had a fight, what will happen? What happens? A used abusive language and used bad words for B. So they had a bad fight. A left. Now the B went to have a sleep, but the B didn't sleep because the whole night the words of A were running in B's mind. So this is basically a psychic energy which is stored in B's mind. This is pressure, this is stress, this is unsettlement. Next day what will happen when the B meets A again? B uses the same words and removed all the frustration he had in his brain. So what B is doing? B is removing the pressure, B is removing the stress, B is removing the conflict and resolving the conflict. Now B is very happy. So the B is in pleasure. So this is a pressure and pleasure principle, also known as conflict and resolution principle. In Sigmund Freud's theory, one point is that Sigmund Freud said that the pleasure or the resolution is always sexual. The pleasure is always sexual. What he says, every stage of life, the child passed through a conflict. Every stage, child passed through a conflict or a pressure, and then child start resolving that conflict. And while resolving that conflict, child understands a lot of things, and the mind grows. So every stage, child passed through the conflict, child resolves the conflict, and the mind grows. And he said that the resolution is always sexual. So sexual fantasies or the drives are the one which grows the mind. This is the principle of psychosexual theory. So all the psychic energy which is stored in the brain is in the form of pressure. When we remove the pressure, we feel pleasure. That means conflict, when it is resolved, resolution is achieved. Stages of psychosexual theory. We have 7 stages. Birth stage, second is oral stage, anal stage, urethral stage, phallic stage, latency and genital stage. 7 stages: birth stage, oral stage, anal stage, urethral stage, phallic stage, latency and genital stage. What we tell students to understand here is this is a psychodynamic theory. So you cannot merge the stages. You have to remember the sequence of stages, because psychodynamic, we all know that the mind is growing with age. So you are not allowed to mix the stages, write in a sequence. Second thing, you have to understand the years or the age in which you see the stages. Birth stage is a rudimentary stage. Many authors believe that this is not a part of this psychosexual theory. So you can also omit this stage. Otherwise, you can write if you want. Oral stage 0 to 1.5 years. Anal stage 1.5 to 3 years. Urethral stage again same 1.5 to 3 years. Phallic stage 3 to 5 years. Latency stage 5 to 11 years. Genital stage 11 to 13 years. Sigmund Freud said that every stage has the organ of sexual interest. So every stage you see an erotic organ. Erotism means sexual desire, sexual pleasure or excitement. Erotic organ means any organ when you touch, it arouses your sexual desire. So in birth stage there is no erotic organ, and same with the latency stage, there is no erotic organ. Latency means passive, inactive. So the desires are inactive here. So you don't see any sexual organ of interest. Oral stage, oral cavity is the organ of sexual interest. Anal stage, anus is the organ of sexual interest. Urethral stage, urethra is the organ of sexual interest. Phallic stage, penis is the organ of sexual interest. Phallic means penis. So penis is the organ of interest for both the sexes. Latency, no organ of sexual interest. Genital, male, penis is the organ of sexual interest. In females, vagina is the organ of sexual interest. So in all these stages you see one organ of sexual interest through which child derives sexual pleasure. Child derives resolution of the conflict. We have seen that in the principle, the life of child is balanced by a conflict and the resolution. Every stage, child sees a conflict. Child resolves the conflict and moves to the second stage. Then again, child sees a conflict, he moves to the second stage, third stage. So every stage of child has a conflict. It has to be resolved, and the child moves to the next stage. This is how the mind is growing. Phallic stage, we have 4 important things: Oedipus complex, Electra complex, castration anxiety, and penis envy. You have to remember, because this is the most important stage of this section. Phallic stage, we have 4 important parameters: Oedipus complex, Electra complex, castration anxiety, and penis envy. We will see this in depth now. First stage of psychosexual theory is the birth stage. Though many authors believe it is rudimentary, but we should know what is birth stage. Whenever the question comes to you and how you should write the stages of psychosexual theory is, write in 4 sections: introduction, features, purpose, and pathological traits. Introduction of the stage: features, where you have to highlight the conflict; purpose, where you have to highlight the resolution of the conflict; and then pathological traits. Pathological trait means if the conflict is not resolved, what will happen? There is something known as fixation in the adult life. So this is pathological trait. Introduction of birth stage, it is the first stage of psychosexual theory. First stage of psychosexual theory. Features of this stage: any trauma, physical or psychological, happened during this stage can lead to the formation of fear or anxiety reactions. Any trauma, physical or psychological, happened in this stage can lead to the formation of fear and anxiety reaction in the mind of the child. Anxiety is fear to unknown and fear is to known. For example, child is born and suddenly child fell from the parent hand. So this fall injury is a conflict in the child mind. So child always have a fear of falling down. So the child might register the fall as fear and anxiety reaction. The purpose is the resolution of the conflict. Purpose is the child should learn some adaptive mechanism to fight against this anxiety or fear reactions. Okay, the purpose is to solve the conflict, which was a fall injury here. So the purpose is to learn some adaptive mechanism so that the child can fight against anxiety or fear reactions. For example, child may emerge out as a strong child who doesn't fear fall or height injury. Okay, child become very strong. He will not fear fall or height. Pathological traits. If the conflict is not resolved, the conflict is fall. If the child doesn't emerge as a strong individual, when he become adult, he will be a very weak individual who always fears fall or height. He will not go to the places of greater heights. He will not go to mountains or fear the heights. So this is the birth stage. Oral stage, second stage of psychosexual theory. Introduction, 0 to 18 months of life. You see this stage from 0, that means from birth to 18 months of life. Oral cavity has a dominant role from birth till 18 months of life. So that's the introduction. Features, oral cavity is the organ of sexual interest in this stage. Oral cavity is an erotic zone. Oral cavity is also known as erogenous zone. That means zone of sexual interest. Why it is known as oroerotic zone is because everything is centered around the oral cavity in this stage, including lips, tongue, teeth, cheeks and mucosa. So everything is centered around the oral cavity. That means whatever the child wants, he demands through the oral cavity. If the child is hungry, he'll cry, mother comes and mother feeds the child. If the child is thirsty, again he'll cry, mother comes and feeds the child. If the child is feeling alone, child is feeling scared, he wants dependence, he again cries and mother comes and be with the child or feed the child. So everything is centered around the oral cavity in this stage. Child derives sexual pleasure from sucking the milk from the mother's breast, mother's nipple or bottle nipple. When the mother's breast or mother nipple or bottle nipple, it touches the oral mucosa of the child feels sexually stimulated and he derives the pleasure from doing that. Okay, so the features or the conflict in this stage is hunger, thirst or dependence. When the child is hungry, when the child is thirsty or the child wants dependence, he wants mother. So he wants to resolve the conflict. Purpose of this stage is how to get the resolution. If the mother is there when the child needs, either for dependence or for the hunger or for the thirst, and she feeds the child, she is there with the child feels satisfied. And this conflict of hunger, thirst or dependence is resolved. So the child develops trust with the mother, and this trust is carried in the later life when he becomes the adult. He'll also trust the other individuals or the people he meet in life. The vice versa happens on the contrary when the mother is not there when the child needs a mother, either for dependence, hunger or thirst. Child is not satisfied, this conflict is not resolved and the child develops mistrust with the mother. This mistrust is carried in the later life on the individuals he meet. He will not trust the people in the later life. What is the pathological trait here? If this resolution is not achieved, conflict is still there, child develops pathological traits. And the most important trait is the oral fixation. Oral fixation means the child is adult now, but the mind is still fixed in the oral stage. So he may become a smoker or a nail biter or a constant chewer of chewing gums and whatever. Why? Because if this stage is not fixed, child mouth is always moving. Child oral cavity is always moving. Either the lips are moving, child wants something in his mouth. So he may become a smoker or a nail biter. We see adults biting the nails when there is a pressure or there is a conflict. So they resolve the conflict through oral fixation, that is biting the nails. Now this oral fixation can be through two types. One is through underfeeding, one is through overfeeding. If the child is underfed when the mother is not there, when the child wanted the mother, he may become an individual of pessimistic nature, that is negative nature. and he may become an individual who is jealous and envious of others. On the contrary, if he is overfed, excessive feeding, then again he may become an individual who is optimistic, okay, who is positive, and who has narcissism, means habit of self-loving. So in both the cases, either the child is underfed or overfed, child mouth is constantly moving. So he may have a habit of smoking or nail biting or keeping something inside his mouth all the time. He may also have a habit of chewing gums constantly, or even biting the gums or biting the nails. So this is known as oral fixation. So we have seen the conflict is the conflict of hunger and dependence, and the resolution is done by mother by satisfying the child whenever the child needs the mother, and that's the resolution in the form of trust and dependence. Otherwise, child have mistrust on the social world. Pathological traits is oral fixation, either through underfeed or overfeed. Child may become pessimistic if he is underfed. If the child is overfed, he may become optimistic, and he may have the habit of smoking and nail biting in both the traits. 3. Anal stage. Anal stage is the third stage of psychosexual theory. Introduction, it is seen in 1.5 to 3 years of the childhood. In this stage, there is a maturation and neuromaturation of anal sphincter. That means this stage is marked with the acquisition of neuromuscular control on anal sphincter. Anal sphincter is used to defecate, or is used to have a control on feces. So child can defecate on his own will now. So there is a maturation of anal sphincter. Before this stage, when the child was below 1.5 years, parents used to put on the diapers. Now, after this stage or in this stage, child get the hold of anal sphincter. So he wants to go to toilet at his own, because there is a maturation of anal sphincter. Features of this stage: anus is the organ of sexual interest. Anus is the organ of erotic zone or erogenous zone. What is the conflict in this stage? The conflict is child is searching for the independence in toilet, because he has a control of anal sphincters now. He wants to defecate independently without parents. He wants to go to toilet at his own. He wants to understand when, why, and how of potty training or toilet training, which is given by the parents, because in this stage, toilet training plays a very important role. While doing so, he derives sexual pleasure from anal retention or expulsion. When he has a control, he either retain the feces or he expel the feces at his own will, and while doing so, he has a sexual stimulation at the anus area, which is known as anal erotism. So the conflict is child is searching for the independence in toilet. Purpose of this stage is to resolve the conflict. So how to resolve the conflict? Parents plays a very important role. They have to support the child in toilet training, and because the child loves to enjoy the freedom in doing independent toilets, so he feels happy to defecate himself if he can do so. So this is the resolution of the conflict, and the child finally gets the independence from the parents in doing the toilets. While doing all this, the pleasure is anal erotism, means the sexual pleasure with retention or expulsion of feces. If the child conflict is not resolved, he shows pathological traits. Pathological traits is in the form of anal fixation. Anal fixation means still the mind of the child is fixed in the anal stage, even he grows as an adult. We see many students, when there is an exam pressure, they go to toilet and sit for many hours in the toilet, because they feel the pressure is getting relieved with this. This is anal fixation. We see two types of anal fixation with toilet training. One is if the toilet training is very harsh, or the toilet training is very loose. If the toilet training is very harsh or strict by the parents, the personality developed, maybe child become disciplined, more frugal in nature. Frugal means कंजूस दिल का, or parsimony. Parsimony means he spends money very carefully, or he become tidy. If the toilet training is loose, child may emerge as irregular person, or careless person, or untidy person. So this is known as anal fixation. Urethral stage. It is the fourth stage of psychosexual theory. Urethral stage is similar to anal stage in every sense, except the word anus is replaced by urethra now. Introduction, this stage is also seen along with anal stage in 1.5 to 3 years. Here the difference is there is a maturation of urethral sphincter instead of anal sphincter, which we have seen in the previous stage of anal stage. Now the child has a control on the neuromuscular sphincter, that is urethral sphincter. Child want to micturate at his own. Either he want to retain the urine or he want to expel the urine at his own will. So there is a maturation of urethral sphincters in this stage. Features and conflict, everything is same as anal stage. Conflict is he want to be independent in toilet. Only the difference is urethra is the organ of sexual interest. It is the erogenous zone or the erotic zone. Childs want to urinate independently. He wants to micturate independently. He wants to understand when, why and how of toilet training, which is being supervised by the parents. He wants to understand when to do urine, when to remove, when to urinate, when to retain the urine. While doing so, he derives sexual pleasure from urine retention or expulsion. He feels the stimulation at this area, and this is known as urethral erotism. The purpose is to resolve the conflict. The conflict is independence in toilet. So child wants to enjoy freedom to be independent and wants to feel happy to urinate himself without the supervision of parents. So this is the resolution. The child is resolving the conflict of being independent, and child also feel independence in this process. Only thing is, you should understand what is urethral erotism. That is erotism or the sexual pleasure child derives while retention of urine or the expulsion of urine himself. If the resolution is not achieved, the conflict is not resolved, then child shows the pathological traits. This is known as urethral fixation. If the toilet training is again harsh or loose, the same thing. If it is harsh by the parents, child become disciplined, fragile or tidy. If it is loose, then child may become irregular, may be careless and also become untidy individual. So this is urethral stage. Phallic stage. Phallic stage is the next stage of psychosexual theory. This stage is seen from 3rd year of childhood and it ends at 5 years of childhood. In this stage, you see the focus is on sexual interest around the genitals, and there is an increase in genital masturbation, and also there is an increase in sexual attraction for opposite sex parent. So this stage is marked with increase in sexual interest around genitals and sexual attraction for opposite sex parents. What are the features of this stage? We have 4 features in this stage: Oedipus complex, castration anxiety, electra complex and penis envy. Oedipus complex, castration anxiety, electra complex and penis envy. What is the conflict to be resolved here? The conflict is sex identification role. Child understand I am a male or a female in this stage. So phallic stage is very important to make the child understand that he is a male or she is a female. So Oedipus complex and castration anxiety are the features which are seen in boys. Electra complex, penis envy are the features which are seen in girls. Oedipus complex is the boys are sexually attracted towards their mother. Boys are sexually attracted or attached towards their mother, and they feel their father as an enemy. They want to imitate, they want to copy their father habits, their father attire, their father, how the father walks, how the father sits, how the father acts, and he ate food or whatever. So they want to copy all the attributes of father so that they can win their mother's sexual love. So while doing that, the boys fear that father is a stronger individual than the child. So one day the father will understand the feeling of the child, and he is going to castrate or destroy the genital organ of the child. Because of that, child is more anxious about it, and this is known as castration anxiety. So because of Oedipus complex in boys, they have the fear of father castrating their genital organs, and this is known as castration anxiety. Now this is also known as identification. Identification means the boys identify father as a strong individual, and because of him, he repressed the thought, he repressed the sexual thought, which is known as repression. So repression is basically repressing that sexual desire towards their mother, and repressing to that unconscious mind, so that the boys will forget that unconscious thought. So that is known as identification and repression. These are ego defensive mechanisms. We'll be discussing in further videos. Electrocomplex and penis envy are seen in girls. Electrocomplex is the sexual attraction towards father. The girls are sexually attached or attracted towards their father, and they feel their mother as the enemy. So they also want to copy their mother habits and attributes so that they can win their father's sexual love. And then penis envy. And penis here means a representation of male. Envy means jealousy. So in this, the girls are jealous from males. That means they are envious of male position, attributes, or status the male enjoy in the society. So this is known as penis envy. So what is the purpose of this stage? Purpose is the resolution of the conflict. The conflict was sex identification, male or female. While resolving all these complexes, the child understands if he has Oedipus complex or attraction towards mother or castration anxiety, so he is a boy. Or if the girl understands that she has Electra complex towards the father and feel penis envy, then she is a girl. So the conflict is resolved. The child understands I am a male or a female. This is known as resolution, and this is basically to identify the sex role. The child understands the complexes and learn the repression and identification. We have discussed that what is repression, what is identification. Identification is a child identifies father as a strong individual, and he understands one day father is going to destroy my genital organs. To prevent this, he repressed that sexual thought, and that is known as repression. If this conflict is not resolved, child develop the pathological traits. Pathological traits are in the form of phallic fixation. That means the sex role confusion is there. Child doesn't understand I am a male or a female. Two types of phallic fixation are there in male or female. In male, for example, if the family is atypical, for example, father is not there or mother is not there. So if we speak about the male, if father is absent in the family, during this phallic stage, child see Oedipus complex, attraction towards their mother, and then he basically identify father as a strong individual. But if the father is absent in this stage, so he doesn't find anybody to be stronger than him. So he doesn't feel castration anxiety, and because of that, he may develop as an individual who is sexually very aggressive and a man who doesn't respect the woman. So that is known as phallic fixation in males. Phallic fixation females, if the mother is absent in the family, so now when the female child understands Electra complex, but he doesn't have the mother to stop her and to guide her. So these type of children without mother, they either become flirtatious or sexually aggressive or very dominant during sex as compared to men. So this is known as phallic fixation in males and females. Now we'll come Oedipus complex and Electra complex. Let's see these complexes in depth. Oedipus complex, the word came from the word Oedipus, who was the king of Thebes. In Greek mythology, there is a story that Oedipus the king killed his father and married his mother. Okay, so this word Oedipus came from the Oedipus, who was the king of Thebes. Electra complex, the word Electra came from a story of, in Greek mythology, there's a story where daughter Electra was famous for her loyalty towards her father Agamemnon. Agamemnon, the king, was killed by her wife, second wife, and then the daughter took the revenge by killing her stepmother with the help of Electra's brother. What is the concept in this complex is actually the girl is looking for someone who is like the father. So this is Electra complex. We have seen what is repression, what is identification. Identification is the process when during the phallic stage, when the boys have Oedipus complex, they feel that one day the father who is stronger than him will castrate his genital organs. So they start the repression of sexual desired thoughts. So they repress their sexual desire thought with the help of identification and repression. Latency stage of psychosexual theory. Introduction. This stage is seen from 5 to 11 years of age. Latency means inactive, it means passive, it means latent. So here the meaning is the sexual energy, or the word libido, which was used by Sigmund Freud, is inactive here. It is latent here, it is passive here. So there is no sexual organ of interest seen in this stage. So this stage is latent stage. Features, there is something known as sublimation here. Sublimation is when there is a conversion of socially unacceptable desires to socially acceptable desire. This is known as sublimation. So here the child transfers all the sexual energy into some socially acceptable activities like reading, playing games, or doing some skillful activities like painting. So child is transferring all the sexual energy into some good activities or socially acceptable activities. The conflict of this stage is child is to learn new skills. So conflict to the child is to learn new skills here. Purpose of this stage is the resolution of conflict. That means child should learn new skills. The role of teachers and parents are very important in this stage because they are the one who guide the child, who channelize the energy of sexual energy to good activities. So in this stage, child basically is guided by the teachers and the parents to learn new activities. And if he can do this, he learn new skills. And if he learn new skills, he resolves the conflict and he become a very active child. Pathological trait as such, there is no fixation in this stage because there is no sexual energy involved. But these type of individuals where the resolution is not achieved, they emerge as a weak individuals with no interest in extracurricular activities. So this is a latent stage. Genital stage. Genital stage is the last stage of psychosexual theory. This stage starts from 11 to 13 years, that is onset of puberty, till the child reach adulthood. Till the child become adolescent, so this stage is genital stage. In this stage, the sexual desires re-arise after phallic stage where we have seen the sexual desires. Now again the sexual desires re-arise after latent stage. Genitals, as the name goes, genital is the organ of sexual interest. So genitals for both the sexes are the erotic organs here in this stage. The only difference in phallic stage and genital stage, erotic organ is here the genitals are matured physiologically with the intensification of hormones. In the phallic stage, it was not physiologically mature as well as there was no hormonal intensification. What is the feature of this stage? Feature is child understand his goals of reproduction with opposite sex partner as the child accept himself or herself as an adult, or he want or she want to have a romantic relationship with the mutual consent with the opposite sex partner, not like phallic stage where it was on one side as a id drive, not from other side. What is the conflict? Conflict is to come out as a mature individual. So that's the conflict. This conflict has to be resolved. Now how this conflict is resolved? Because now child is adult now, he accepts his role as an adult, as a social human being, he lives in the society, and then he become a mature individual. When he become a mature individual, his conflict is resolved. And now the child after resolution become a strong identity. What is a pathological trait? If this conflict is not resolved, child is emerge out as a confused identity, which is a common trait nowadays, where the child asks the question to himself, who am I? For what reason I have come here in this world, whether I want to become a doctor, engineer, or which profession I want to take. So he is a confused adolescent, he cannot plan his vacation, he cannot plan his family. So if the child resolves the conflict, he is a mature individual, he is a strong individual. Otherwise, he is a confused adolescent. So this is all about genetic stage. Till now we have seen all the stages of psychosexual theory.